Hello there everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis video, first things first, we are already celebrating 5 million downloads, which I'm sure has a lot to do with the old Final Fantasy VII Rebirth trailer that came out very recently. But we do also have another banner to take a look at, which is exciting for people who are getting into the game. And now that I know a lot more about this game than I did this time last week, I feel I'm a lot more confident in saying whether the stuff on these banners is worth actually pulling for. We have 100 draws coming up for free, so there's missions that give you some extra draws, some daily free draws for the next week, a gift, and then rare enemy encounter events, which is all good stuff. New draw available. So we first of all have Cloud, bless him, in a little sailor's outfit with an anchor, and then we have more fan service because we have a bikini Aerith. But let's take a look at what we can see from these characters and see whether they're worth going for or not. Before we get started on the new featured characters themselves, one thing I did want to point out here is the fact that Murasame and Heavy Hauser, which were the equipment pieces from the previous banner, are now on the wish list that you can add, like, whichever weapons you're looking for onto your banner, so your off banner pools can be a little bit more geared to what you're after. So that would suggest to me that a lot of the weapons that do come out fall into different categories as they do with other gacha games. Some weapons will enter the general pool, others will not, is my assumption. So these summer like banners, I'm not sure whether they will or not, but some of them at the very least will. As you can see, Murasame and Heavy Hauser from that previous banner both on the wish list. So first up, we have another weapon for Cloud. I would envision that Cloud's going to get a lot of gear in this game because of who he is primarily. And you see he's got his nice little sailory outfit there, which honestly, I've seen it, I'm waiting for the dressed down version that uses the segue from the FF7 Rebirth trailer. If you haven't seen it, you need to go and watch it. But we have a new weapon, which is the Maritime Sword, and this boosts physical attack and water potency and gives you a physical water damage dealing ability. Very similar to Murasame, but for water instead of lightning. Its materia will boost physical attacks based on what materia you have on it, and its third unlock is a sigil boost for the circular icon. So I'm going to go over this in greater detail in a weapons guide because I do understand how the weapon system in this game works now significantly better than I did previously. But you'll notice that a lot of these across 5-star weapons or weapons in general tend to be quite similar. So the Murasame weapon, for example, gave you a sigil boost for the triangle icon, whereas this is for the circle one. This is important, but if all 5-star weapons coming along have similar things, then you might not need to worry about it as much as you might think. Its base stats, it's got plus 24 to physical attack and plus 9 to water potency. This then jumps up pretty significantly at plus 6 to plus 34 and plus 24, and also increases the damage quite significantly of Sea Splitter. And it's more focused on physical attack than anything else, but it does give some healing stats as well. His costume, on the other hand, boosts HP and water mastery. Now, I don't like this quite as much as his lightning garb, purely because the stat it gives you in its primary stat is attack, which is what you want for Cloud rather than HP. And the Levin Blade Arcanum boosts lightning damage by 35% instead of water mastery here, which only gives 20%. So I'm not sure I would go for this outside of wanting a bit of variety, although having the physical attack buff on the Maritime Sword will make it a nice sub-weapon or secondary weapon to the Murasame if you already have it. So keeping up with the fan service from the previous banner, we have Summer Aerith in some scantily clad outfits, like to the point where I worry sometimes that some of these outfits are going to get me demonetized on YouTube. But we have the Sunny Robe and the Sun Umbrella. These are actually very interesting in that when you're using Aerith, you typically want her for her healing gear. If you're looking for like the reroll stage, you wanted to get her Fairy Tail weapon because it had an AoE Curaga on it. Whereas this doesn't boost her healing really at all, it increases her magical attack. However, the attack that comes off of Sun Umbrella, Night Bloom, is a magic damage dealing single target ability that decreases both physical and magical defense, which is a nice overall kind of defensive debuffing weapon, so she can be used alongside physical attackers and still get the same amount out of it. So if you have this as a second weapon next to her healing weapons, it could work quite nicely, but it does at level, like a base stats, plus 24 to magic attack and plus 9 to mag ability potency, which increases your damage from magic abilities as long as you're in the attack stance. And then again, you will jump up really high with 6 stars with 34 magic attack and magic ability potency at 24. These are cheeky in that they give you 1 point under what you actually need to hit the threshold for the next tier up. Again, I will go into the greater detail in this in a weapons guide, but so it means that you're going to need at least one other weapon to be able to get yourself over that threshold if you so choose. That's even at plus 6. And the same applies with with just the base weapon, plus 24, plus 9. You're still going to need additional weapons. And then all of the materia slots in here boost attack and magic attack, so it's making her much more offensive. And the Sunny Robe, again, boosts her HP and her magic attack, which gives her a more offensive capability, which is fine, but it's not what I'm using Aerith for. So I guess my conclusion with this is that I like the weapons from this banner, but I certainly wouldn't go ham on it for the costume, which, given the way that this game works in that you want multiple copies of a weapon, and we're not entirely sure whether some of these summer weapons are going to stick around after the banner finishes, I'm not sure I'm willing to pull on this banner at all, because I'm quite happy with what I've got already, and there's nothing that's really weak to water that I need Cloud for, and outside of the Sun Umbrella having a really interesting effect, I'm not that interested in it for Aerith, given that she takes up my healing slot, and if I'm doing challenging content, that's what I'm using her for. But they are very interesting nonetheless. So there's no event that's coming out with this particular banner. It's still carrying on with the Watermelon Tombury event that came with Tifa and Red 13 summer outfits, so we don't really have anything else to go on to talk about with this banner except for the extra rare enemy encounters when training your characters. We're still very early on in Ever Crisis. The game has only been out a week, so I'm very much kind of like treading carefully when it comes to spending resources, as I can't really afford to be spending loads of money on this game. I did, however, purchase the boost pass because I wanted to see how much of a grind that cut down, and it seems to be quite impactful. So if you're going to spend on anything that's got a regular update, I probably would recommend either that or the season pass if you want the gems that come from it, because it's the most bang for your buck as far as I can tell in terms of respecting your time as much as a gacha game ever can respect your time. I also plan on making a video that is like Ever Crisis a week later, because I've been playing it quite intensively over the past week, speaking to quite a few people about it. And I have to say, I may have misjudged it early on. I didn't think that I was going to like it. There are still plenty of red flags with this game that make me go, ugh, like the amount of fan service they've put in this early, but that's fine. We can get the fan servicey bits out of the way so that when the really powerful stuff comes, I can have ignored all the fan service because I'm not going to fall for that trap. But I am enjoying my time with it, and I am willing to make further content on it. So I'd love to hear from you guys what sort of questions you have when it comes to Ever Crisis. And of course, I extend that to anyone who comes along and watches me on Twitch or on YouTube, or we can discuss this on Discord. All of that is linked in the description box below. And of course, to my Patreons as well. I plan on including them with my future posts if I do Should You Pulls or anything similar to that. When it comes to Ever Crisis, we'll discuss things over Twitch, and then I'll bring it over to YouTube in a consolidated fashion so that I can try to help you to know where to save, because for me, a banner passed is money saved as far as I'm concerned. So for me, passing on a banner is usually a good thing. Whether I'll pull on this one, I doubt it. I want to see what the next one is, but I might go for a copy of Sun Umbrella on Aerith because I quite like the idea of the Night Bloom ability. But yes, that's going to be all from me today. Thank you all very much for joining me, and let me know in the comments below what kinds of things you want to see about Ever Crisis. If you want a beginner's guide, or if you want just a breakdown of a particular mechanic, I can absolutely do that for you. And as I said, with Patreon, I do always give my thanks to my patrons every time I release videos, because it really does mean a lot to me that people continue to support me. And me going back to a gacha game is definitely a very, trepidatious, if that's even a word, thing, but I am enjoying Ever Crisis, and I am willing to continue to support it for now until I feel differently. But that's going to be it from me, so thank you all very much for coming, and I will see you in the next one. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.